Yo, yo, yo. Today's video, we are working on the 2002 Subaru WRX race car, as we can see here. Today, we're throwing on lower control arm bushings because these old, crusty, dusty 23-year-old bushings need replaced. We're also going to replace this factory sway bar with a Whiteline sway bar. As you can see, we already have the Whiteline mounts, or end link. But yeah, here's our lower control arm. We got to replace the ball joint. We got to replace the front bushing up here. And then we have the anti-lift kit for the back here. If I can get around, there we go. How sexy this is under here. Got some Killer Bee, got some Tomei headers, got a little tile, external wastegate dump poking down, STI tranny, beautiful. Nice little custom exhaust, beautiful welding right there. Now I will say from the cat back is just a shitty eBay exhaust, but the rest is welded by a buddy of mine, and he did a pretty fantastic job. Here's our bushings. Here's my sexy wheels. So we got the anti-lift kit here. This is the replacement for the rear. These look interesting. I gotta research why they're off-centered like that. Then we got the front bushings and we got replacement ball joints. Here's the number, by the way. Alright, so here we go. How do you take this stuff off? How do you remove a sway bar? How do you remove a lower control arm? So, on these Subarus, we got a subframe that really doesn't do anything but be core support and strength. So, you remove 5 bolts running down here. I want to say it's a 17 millimeter and a 14 towards the rear. You pull this guy off, you can get to your sway bar mounts. There's 2 bolts on each. Boop, boom, pull those off. Then you have your end link as well. So you got those bolts there. Next step, so that was just for the sway bar. Next step, to remove this guy, we need to pull off the sway or the lower ball joint. There's 1 bolt on the side holding it on, and you hammer it down. Do not remove the bottom bolt. I promise you, you do not want to deal with that. You remove the upper one that holds it in, and you bang and bash that thing out of there. It'll be 10 times harder if you remove that lower bolt. Here's a close-up of that lower bolt. Do not remove that. I promise you, you will have a bad day. So, first, like I said, that. Then you got to remove the bolt here. And then you got to, underneath this guy, remove that back there. 2 bolts, whole thing drops out. And you're ready to go. Ready to paint it up and replace your bushings. Alright, I just got this driver's side off. What I did first was used a pickle fork and shoved it in here and broke it loose from inside the A-arm itself, or control arm. So that got loosened, and then I started beating on it again with this, without the pickle fork, just right here where it's all chewed up now, but that knocked it out of the hub. So now remove the bolts on both ends and it's completely out. All right, we got these lower control arms out, we got the sway bar out, and the subframe. So we got to clean this bad boy up. As we can see here with our sway bar, these bushings were cooked. These things are just falling apart. Those are disgusting. Same with these guys. These were all busted to crap. But got to pull everything off. It looks like I need to repaint because some of this is rusty. So I'm going to get in there, sand that all down, sand these edges down, and get them looking nice, and then we'll throw on all the new stuff. These bushings here, pain in the butt. Those are going to take a minute. Alright, so I got a little carried away with this and decided to take some rust off. So now we are going to have to repaint it. I'm going to use a rust converter that kind of rubberizes it. So some of this, yeah, is regular paint, but I'm just going to coat the whole thing with rust converter. And yeah, we'll see how she goes. quick tip. This little bushing is a pain in the butt. So you get one of these bars with nuts and washers, and you basically get a socket that's bigger on one end and just smaller on the other end. And you take it, use a impact and run it in. You use heat on this as well. If you don't use heat, you're not getting it out. So use heat and boom, run it in with this and it'll come right out. All right, the stuff I ended up using on the lower control arms is this rust barrier here. So I decided this would work. I sanded everything down, and then it gives it a rubberized finish, which I think should be okay for under the car. But yeah, this is it. Did 3 coats. Here they are. It's got a very light matte color to it, but I think they look fantastic. We'll get them slapped under the car tomorrow when they're done drying, and then this thing will be ready to rip. All right, so I made a common mistake. It seems like a lot of people do. So when you go to order these kits, most websites say that the bushings for these are 55 millimeter. However, on an 02 and 03 wagon, they have a 61 mil. As you can see, there's a difference in length right there. Noathane and Whiteline are basically the same company if you do your research on it. So I ended up having to go and buy Whiteline. Luckily, they were on sale. This is your part number here if you're in the same issue as me. However, if you're just running the regular 55, get these guys. Obviously, grab your own calipers when you go to do this. Measure it out. You know, measure twice, buy once. I made the mistake. So now I got to replace bushings on both my cars. The weird issue is when I threw these on my daily, they came with the correct rod length or crush bar length. However, the bushings were shorter, the 55 mil, so they didn't reach the full way across. But now that I'm realizing these kind of need to get pinched in there with the crush rod. So do your research, figure it out, don't make the mistake. All right, so I just got these bad boys on. They were a pain in the butt. So unfortunately, with these bigger bushings, it was hard to get it aligned. So I had to pull off this rear bracket here, that anti-lift kit. And with that, once you got it on, you then had to take a crowbar and bend this back down in order to get that back on. The lower ball joint went on easy, but yeah, just for your information, when you go to get that on, you're probably gonna have to pull that off and then bend the crap out of it to get it back on. But this looks nice down here. Got all of our stuff set up. Got our Tomei, our Killer Bee oil pan. We got all the fancy bits with the suspension. Okay, so we got the car off jack stands, and we got a homemade plate here to lift it off. So you have to torque everything down with the full weight of the car. So first we're gonna do the sway bar end link, and then we're gonna do the front mount for the lower control arm, and then we're gonna work our way to the back and torque all of that down. You are able to torque the lower ball joint while it's up in the air, so keep that in mind. All right, so that'll be all for today's video. That is how you do the lower control arm. I did not reinstall the subframe that goes underneath. I have some more work I gotta knock out. So there's the video. Have a good day.